Hiya, Becky here. This video is kindly sponsored by FSC Nationwide, which is a first aid company that supply online courses all about first aid. So there's multiple topics you can choose from when it comes to doing first aid. I was fortunate to do one of the first aid courses, like an introduction and a recap, and knowing your basic first aid, something that you'd learn if you did just a normal course that's in person. But this allows you to be more convenient as it's online, especially during these times with lockdown and social distancing. Nothing's really open, so to do a online course on first aid or to recap your knowledge is really great. I feel first aid is something that's really underrated when it comes to being outside and an outdoor skill to learn. It is essential. Obviously, if something goes wrong with our bodies or we have a problem like a cut or an injury and we can't solve it, then it could be life-threatening or long-term damage and long-term injury. First aid is definitely something I want to improve on and get better at, and that's why I was so happy and lucky to do this online course, and it taught me a lot actually, things that I didn't really know or took for granted in the past. Anyway, if you're interested in that, then please click on the link in the description and feel free to use the discount code. So moving on, a lot of people have asked me to do this video in the past and I just haven't done it or got round to it, and I thought this was a good time to do it, seeing as I've done the online course recently. So this is going to be what I carry in my little homemade first aid kit and what I feel is essential for me to carry. So depending on what you're doing outdoors, which can be loads of different things, that can change what you do carry with you. So whether that is bushcraft, it's hiking, it's canoeing, it's mountaineering, that can really change what you take with you. And whether it's longer term or if it is just for a day, that can change as well. So I'm just going to get my kit and just show you what I carry in it for me personally. Everybody's different. Some people like carrying things and others don't. So it's just completely down to you and what your personal preference is. First item that I'm going for is a SHMAG, and this is because I'm going to put it down on the floor and lay everything out. But this offers so many different tasks and jobs that you can do with it. There's multiple things. You can make different stuff out of it, like a tourniquet, you could make a sling, you can soak it in water and put over your head or your neck if it was really hot weather or you were suffering from heat stroke. You can use it as a form of sitting down, something to sit on, just simple things like that, or for washing, or as a towel, or washing up cutlery, for collecting water, for filtering water. This has so many different uses, and there's even more than that I haven't listed. Right, so now I'm going to talk about everything that is in my first aid kit. So here I've got a bright red waterproof bag for storing everything that I need. This just keeps it really compact and all together, so it's not all scattered around in your pack, because that's not what you want. And when you want to grab something, it's all in one bag. This is also waterproof, so if I did go on a boat trip or it was raining or I had to leave it out because I needed something out of it whilst it was tipping it down, then it's handy, it's in a waterproof bag. Bright red as well, which is great, so if I need to find it I can grab it, and if I leave it on the floor I can see it easily. And red, typically, say you were unconscious or you lost your bag and you needed something or someone wanted to use something out of it, typically people would refer to maybe a red bag as first aid. Okay, so first thing is tablets. So here I've got paracetamol, Nurofen, paracetamol, ibuprofen, Nurofen, cocodamol, which is like a really strong painkiller. I've got Lemsip pills, and I've also got tramadol, which is a really high painkiller. I think the most important thing for these tablets is knowing what they do and when you need to take them. So whether you've got a headache to whether you've got a sprain or an actual injury, like you've broken something, so you knowing what to take and when, and how, then the dosage of it. Right, next thing is bandages. So I have quite a few in here actually. I've got these two and one that is in a waterproof bag. Same again, knowing how to use them. This is what I'm working on, knowing how to wrap an injury properly and get the right pressure and things like that. Because it's one thing carrying it and it's another thing using it. Next is plasters. So this is in a waterproof case. I guess you would ditch the case if you were on a really lightweight trip, but I like this case for just keeping the plasters waterproof and together and contained. Another thing you would think about if you were on a long distance hike is taking blister plasters. I can't stress enough how important blister plasters were for me personally on the West Highland Way last year. Depending, you can choose all different sizes. This is just like your typical size for normal cuts, but you can get the bigger ones and then the blister plasters as well. That brings me to dressings. So these are better for the bigger cuts or grazes that you may come across. So wound dressing, wound pads and dressing for them bigger cuts or grazes that you may get. Along with the sterile dressing and the wound pads is antiseptic wipes. So if you've got a lot of dirt or you've fallen over in the mud and there's dirt in a wound, then it's best to use one of these wipes to clean it and sterilise it, which prevents infection, because infection can be fatal, especially if you're on a longer term trip. Hygiene is key, and it's not spoke about a lot, but hygiene is so important. Things aren't as clean and sterile as they are in our normal Western lives at home and in buildings. So you're outside, you're against the elements, you're with mud and bacterias, so it is good to keep your hygiene up. Next I cover the emergency blanket. So this is a thermal blanket that is ideal, especially mainly focused on mountaineering and canoeing, but you should also take it pretty much anywhere when you're outdoors, because you are always exposed to the elements. Even when it is summertime, it does drop at night and you do feel the cold. If you're soaking wet, you will feel the cold more, or maybe you're in a lot of shock, and that's another time to use that. So you could have faced a severe amount of shock, you could be really hungry and dehydrated, and it all builds up, and I think it's a perfect time to use the emergency thermal blanket. A lot of people take them when they're mountaineering and maybe you get to the summit and you're really exhausted and it's really cold, then a great idea to use it, and just radiates your body heat. Great taking it for canoeing and boat trips in case you do fall in and you capsize. But also great for bushcraft. A lot of people do act as also great for bushcraft. There's a few videos of people making shelters out of these, or putting it against a fire reflector and reflecting heat back at them that they got from their fire, covering themselves in it if they were out on a walk in the woods or just out on a camp out. They may lose their gear, and you can use this instead of a sleeping bag or a sleep system if you've lost it or you don't have it with you. Tissues. This is great also for cleaning something. May have a runny nose, you may need to wipe something off. Are just really good for tissues, especially for women as well, in case you do need to urinate, you've got that as a backup. And even men, if you are going for a number 2 and you didn't bring any toilet roll with you. It is a first aid kit, it is emergency. So after that, I have mosquito repellent. In the summer, this is key. So you also need to plan your first aid kit around what time of year you're going. If you're going more towards winter time, you'd think about maybe packing a hand warmer, spare piece of warm clothing. If you're thinking more about summer, then mosquito repellent would be one of them. And this is just the Ultrathon one, 12 hours, and it works a treat. There's many other options that you can go for. People go for the sprays, people go for the moisturiser Skin So Soft, that's meant to work really well. Or people go for the natural ways of like burning polypore, and there's other things that you can rub on your skin like from nature that's more natural. Along with talking about summer is hydration powder and a hydration tablet. So if you are really dehydrated, you haven't drunk much, or it's a really hot day, then putting some powder or a tablet into your water is ideal, just to give you back electrolytes and things that you lose through not drinking enough liquids. So you can get these in loads of different flavours. I've got lemon and blackcurrant flavours. You can get loads of different flavours, loads of brands do them. But I think it's a good thing to carry. When I did the West Highland Way last year, I got severely dehydrated. I didn't take this with me, and I've learnt from that, and I think I'd always pack that now. Even in the winter you can get dehydrated if you haven't had enough fluids. I think the daily recommendation is about 3-4 litres. This can vary as well if you're doing more exercise. And then safety pins. Safety pins are great for loads of different things. You could use this for your bandage when you're putting it together. You could use it for tying up a tourniquet. You could use it for maybe a piece of your equipment's broken. You can use it for splinters, getting out splinters. So I think that's everything pretty much covered in there. You can add more, you can take less away. Maybe you're on a really lightweight trip and you really have to scrutinise your weight, and you can take bits and bobs out of that. You can also add things as well, depending on the time of year you're going and what sort of trip it's going to be. Things will change. And talking on the topic of hygiene, I've recently been given something by one of my Patreons, and I think I might add it to either my first aid kit or just my general hygiene and wash kit. And that is a bamboo facial cloth. So it's eco-friendly, and it's a really nice cloth which can have many uses really, but keeping clean is really essential. It prevents getting infections. By keeping clean, that will make you be outside longer, and it will make it more comfortable. So cleaning your face, your teeth and all your extremities, like your armpits, places where you really sweat really, so armpits, feet, your genitals and things like that. I thought this was great because it's really lightweight, it can fold up really small, and it's a lovely cloth. So thank you so much to Lost Planet, one of my Patreons, for sending me this, as well as so many other lovely things. I really appreciate it. So sweet receiving such lovely gifts. So when I'm at base camp, I keep this with me, and this is a larger first aid kit. It doesn't really matter about weight when I'm here because it's a base camp. So this is quite a hefty first aid kit. It's got loads in it, and it's great because it can just prepare you for anything. This is also great to keep in your car, or if you're doing van life, because you've always got loads of stuff on you, and like I said, it doesn't matter about weight. So this has loads of different compartments filled with everything you would possibly need that you'd come across. And I want to say a massive thank you to John for sending me this. So I use it a lot. I leave this actually in my bell tent full time. So ice pack, a thermal blanket in there, bandages, sterile dressings, protection gloves, scissors, safety pins, tablets, bandages, plasters, tweezers, more scissors. All protective things that you need if you were camping with somebody else or on a trip with somebody else, and they needed help. So this is for CPR, you put it over somebody's mouth, and you've also got the gloves if you are dealing with somebody else, just for keeping sterile and hygienic. As you don't want to spread any unneeded bacteria. Scissors are great for cutting clothing, so say somebody had a really severe burn and you needed to cut clothing off or a cut, then you do that, or you'd use it for cutting bandages to size. In my case, I'd probably use a knife, but I think it is great to carry scissors or like toenail clippers or something in the first aid kit. I did take some to the West Highland Way because having an ingrown toenail or toenails that are too long can be very uncomfortable when you're wearing boots and walking. So another topic somebody wanted me to cover is ticks. So round here down south they aren't too bad, but the further north England they can get quite bad, and Scotland they are really bad in some areas. The reason why ticks can be a real worry is because of Lyme's disease, which can be caused through ticks. Lyme's disease is a really bad disease. It doesn't have any cure, and it's like it's supposed to be like having a constant cold, feeling really weak and fatigued, having no energy all the time. But I think it is best to get a tick out as soon as you see it and get rid of it straight away. If you leave it in for more than 48 hours, I think you've got more chance of getting it. So best ways of preventing them. I guess the main obvious one is wear clothing that covers you. So wear long trousers, socks that are pulled up high, long socks and boots. I think there's a high chance of getting them, and I've had this before where I've just made a makeshift shelter and slept like on leaves, and they're obviously laying on the ground. But even walking through long grass and things, you can catch them, and even if they're in a place that's rife, you can catch them even if you are being cautious. Sometimes it's something you can't avoid. There is things that you can rub on you. I think the Ultrathon rub that I had does go with preventing ticks as well. So ways of removing them. People do carry Vaseline and put it round where the tick is, and it just falls out on its own, or you can pull it out easier. You can just pull it out if you're careful and you've done quite a few. I think having a dog helps with that. Or you can get one of these tools, which is a tick twister. You put it on the tick and you twist it and it pulls out. But I think it needs quite a lot of force, and the main thing is to remember to get the head of the tick out. There's normally like a little spider, a black tiny spider looking thing, and it has it then forms into like a snail when it starts filling up with blood. There's like a bag on its back that fills up with blood. That probably doesn't sound the best, but that is that. I'm not a master when it comes to ticks, but this is what I know of and what I've researched and learnt from experience. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for sticking around if you have watched it all the way through. So my heart goes out to everyone who's struggling at the minute, maybe with mental health, maybe with a situation they're in, or even in Texas where they had the severe snowfall. So thank you for watching. Stay strong, take care,